I'll read it again. But the purified and consecrated, when he goes there, will dwell with gods. Indeed, as they say in the rites, many are called, but few are chosen. And these few are, in my opinion, no others than those who have loved wisdom in the right way. Footnote. The Greek means wand bearers are many, inspired mystics few. So that's so clearly he calls himself a mystic, and that's what he is, and therefore he's in this mystical tradition. See, we in the West have one of the richest mystical traditions of any people, and we're the only culture in the world that denies it. We don't want to teach it. We only teach it in universities. It's not part of our ongoing culture. We don't cultivate it. It's there. We deny it. We're the only people who do that. And it's a fantastically rich philosophical, spiritual tradition. Chinese don't do it. Hindus don't do it. Nobody does. We do it. Because of Christianity and the biblical tradition. Because the first thing they did when they gained power was to pass laws against this. They couldn't stamp it out, so they finally killed the philosophers. Closed the schools down, and that's the nature of the prejudice in the West.
If you're a mystic, you're a heretic.
Necessarily. Yeah, necessarily. And later, of course, mystics had difficulty in the church anyhow. But Greek philosophy is a spiritual tradition. That's our spiritual tradition. In a sense, it's our religion without a binding, without a belief. And it's vibrant, and it's going to be revived, will be revived. It's inevitable. Thank you. Any more points? Thank you. I love doing it. That's one of my, I love getting into Plato's dialogues and sharing it. And I hope we made the point. Thank you. Hold it.
Socrates reminds me of Krishnamurti.
There are features about him that are similar, though I've read several books on Krishnamurti, and he doesn't follow points into dialogue. Though there are conversations, he doesn't follow the points the way Socrates follows points.
No, the same way.
He doesn't have the dialectic. He doesn't have that keen clarity of mind.
Was it a Athenian law that if you didn't believe in the gods of the state, that you were a criminal?
Yes, that's it. Yes, that's it. That's the law. There it is.
It's a strong feeling, though. You have to understand, in a small society where you have a strong feeling of contamination and things can happen, the whole society can be wiped out. Here in Los Angeles, if we're not particularly happy with our neighborhood, we can switch to a new neighborhood. But it's like certain poor neighborhoods where there are gangs and drug taking and things like that, and it becomes horrible for all the people that are stuck there. And it is hard. It is hard. A society has a responsibility to try and make it a safe society.
Certainly, I think, though, on the other hand, I think that people, when they gain power, lack the wisdom to direct their own affairs. And periodically, there's social upheavals when society runs rampant over individual rights and the highest values and virtues.
Well, it's a balancing
Right.
act.
It goes up and down, and they're periodic.
But in particular, again, mentioning Alcibiades, when before the invasion of Syracuse, when they woke up and all the statues were broken.
No, in the
It
If it's necessary to purge Socrates from the state because of his alliance with Alcibiades, it's equally interesting to know that in the Symposium there is a speech of Alcibiades where he admits that he's attracted to this tradition and he has to, as it were, plug up his ears and run, otherwise he would sit around until he's an old man sitting around listening to Socrates. And he says, but the applause of the many clamored in my ears and it was too much for me, and so I turned away from this and followed the many.
Yes, but that's written by Plato.
Of course. Of course. Alcibiades, that's where we get our information about Alcibiades.
What you just talked about is the love and wisdom of one man against the state that wouldn't grow spiritually. In case of the Vietnam War, we had a lot of young people. I guess we have to characterize their attitude or their action as love of opinion, because they were opposing the state which was going in the wrong direction.
I think that what would have been interesting, if we could just make that one big change in our law.
But there had to be a philosophical component to
That's
that
right.
resistance.
That's right. Yeah, the big change, that philosophical component, would be that people have the right to try to convince society that they're wrong. We don't give them that right because in our legal system you can't speak for yourself except under certain restricted circumstances, and you need a lawyer. Well, you have to work through some legal system. You can't simply go before a jury and plead your case directly to them. And this is the thing that was the major feature in Greek society.
Well,
that's a strength and a weakness depending upon how much...
You're talking about a citizen of the state, and that was a small state, and a citizen of the state would be equivalent to someone today who is like a member of the Senate. I mean, these weren't your man on the street, really.
No, I'm not sure I follow your point. Can you state it in another way?
Okay. Now, I can't remember my figures. In Athens, wasn't the population around how much? I don't remember.
40,000.
Okay, and how many would have actually been entitled to this?
You see, there's a certain interest in history. I don't have it.
Yeah, well...
I must make that clear.
Right.
See, historical questions are important questions, but that is not something that I particularly explore.
Right. All I'm saying...
And in other words, I can't answer that question.
If a lawyer today is accused of a crime, and apparently you can be your own lawyer.
Oh yes.
But they say you are a fool if you're being your own lawyer.
Yeah.
But a lawyer can, and a person like Socrates and people of the patrician class could have that kind of skill.
No, if you don't, I understand what you're saying, but wouldn't you agree that anybody at the time who had any common sense should have told Socrates to shut up? Because he gave evidence against himself. He gave evidence against himself. He wasn't interested in pleading innocent to the charges. He went in there and gave them evidence to convict him. He wanted to use the opportunity of this to plead for the defense of philosophy, to remove the prejudice against